Welcome to another episode of Live with Laura. I'm your host, Laura Hettiger. Now, I know most of you, and you probably know me best through Great Day St. Louis. It is a show that I've been lucky enough to host for the last decade alongside Kent Ehrhardt and Matt Chambers. For a little background, I wasn't
too soon?
there yet.
Sorry.
I had this whole intro.
Go ahead.
But it's fine.
Go ahead.
Here they are.
Do you have a prompter up here, or do
No,
you just
there's
wing
no
it?
prompter. I am totally prepared, but as per usual, Kent steals the show. Welcome to Live
First
with
of all,
Laura.
I did not steal the show yet. Secondly, I was brought here under false premise. I thought it was Live with Laura. That was a whole different thing.
Oh.
So here I am.
I'll tell you, that's a reality show I would watch.
Well,
I wouldn't.
Okay.
You're in it. You can't watch it. He's living with. Can you imagine?
No, I don't think
I'm
Mark's
imagining
gonna
like
sign
a
off
like a
on that.
1980s sitcom kind of opening. Like it's Mark and Laura and Ken.
Popping out.
I love it.
So here you go, guys. This is honestly behind the scenes. When we start Great Day before the official open rolls, it's kind of like this.
Pretty much, yeah.
It's kind of like, what was the thing we used to do afterward? Extra?
GDXL.
GDXL.
Great
That's
Day
right.
Extra Live.
That was fun.
That was fun.
That was
I
fun
miss
we
those.
could cuss. Well, we weren't supposed to. But
Right, but nobody watched it, so you
Right,
could,
yeah.
and you could get away with it.
So I did a deep dive on ChatGPT to come up with some facts about our show. Do you guys know when Great Day started?
No.
Well, this is unfair because we just right at like as you were recording something after Great Day, we talked about this. 2008.
September,
Okay.
right before the recession. When did you join?
So that's an interesting question. I dabbled a little in the first couple of years, but it became part of my official job description, I think, in 2010.
Okay, so the
Yeah.
show is still new.
Yes.
We'll say a toddler. When did you join?
I have no clue. I'm going to say 2012, maybe.
That's kind of what I thought.
That's
Somewhere in
probably
there.
about right. Yeah, that's probably about right. Because you and I had staffing changes and things happening about that
Well,
time.
and then and one of the producers came and said, so-and-so's sick today. I forget who was what and when.
Yeah.
And we did a bit where you came over and you said, can you fill in for us today on
right.
Great Day?
Yeah.
But I did a show for a few years back in the day called PM Magazine, which was a kind of a lifestyles program, but it was based on entertainment primarily. But it was a local show up in Iowa and Wisconsin and parts of Illinois, and we would travel around to little cities, and it was scripted, but not tightly scripted. So I had a little bit of experience doing that kind of thing. Plus, I'd done talk radio, and that I think that probably gave me more experience than anything else.
He talks a lot still about PM Magazine. I feel like that was you really enjoyed that phase of your
Well,
career.
it was the only opportunity for this kind of thing back then.
Yeah.
Other than news, and nobody really cared about lifestyles. It wasn't paying like they haven't been able to they weren't able to monetize it as much as you can now, and PM Magazine was the only thing going. So I kind of put my eggs in that basket, but then PM folded, and I had to move on and go back into news, which is kind of where I started. So, and then,
In weather in South Florida,
right.
and then came back to St. Louis.
Correct.
And as two meteorologists, don't you think the hours and hours that you have done unscripted ad-libbing
Absolutely.
100%.
go so
Absolutely.
well with
Yep.
hosting a show?
Yep.
That's the two things when people come into the weather office and watch, the two things that they are that seems to impress them, I'll say the most, is the green screen, one,
Right.
and that took me like a part of a day
Right,
to get used to
to
that.
figure that
The
out.
whole thing about the forecasting is a little more difficult. And then, just, you don't have the words in front of you. And there was a well-known weather person in St. Louis who used to type out her scripts.
Or his or her. You would know his or her name.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
But
That would take forever.
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
It's just too
I don't
much-
have time for that.
No.
But the thing is,
No.
how do you? Then they would say, how do you know what to say? And I said, well, because I just spent the past 3 hours putting this together.
Right.
The challenge is whittling it all down to 2.5 or 3 minutes or whatever it is.
True.
So you joined Great Day, we'll say fall of 2012-ish. At the time, it was the two of you, Carol Daniel and Virginia Kerr.
Right. 4 hosts.
That's right. We
Which
did have
feels like a
4 hosts.
lot.
It does feel like a lot.
3 feels like a lot, really,
I know.
sometimes.
Yeah.
Honestly, when both of you were off, I kind of think this is how it should just
Wait
be,
a
just
minute.
me.
See
No, I'm
what she just
kidding.
did
It's
there?
a joke. But it launched with Stephanie Simmons
Yes.
back in 2008. But the 4 of you with Carol and Virginia were together for a couple of years. Then Virginia left, went on maternity leave. Claire Kellett stepped in. Then they switched back. Virginia came back to Great Day. Claire went to mornings. Carol left. And it was the 3 of you for a long time.
Yep.
And
Claire
then,
Kellett and I got in a food fight on TV.
I remember this.
It was good. It was good. It was fun.
It's a lot of Great Day memories.
Yeah.
And then eventually they brought me into it in
Yeah.
October
It was a dark time.
2015.
Really, for all of us.
It was kind of the highlight of my career, but thanks. Each
No,
their
that was
own.
exciting. That was exciting.
But
and
now-
you had, by P.S., because you won't tutor your own horn on your own podcast, but you had really made a name for yourself as a young up-and-comer and a super hard worker in the newsroom. You spent so much time in Ferguson during that period of unrest at a time that was challenging for veteran journalists, let alone someone, not that you didn't have experience at that point, but I mean, you had never been, I assume, through anything like that. And I think that helped to open other doors.
It absolutely did.
I think something that people would be surprised to learn about Laura is that she has a master's in journalism. Yeah, from
Yeah.
University of Illinois.
And honestly, I have that master's because of what was happening when this show launched. The recession happened when I was a senior at Illinois, and jobs in newspapers and magazines were drying up left and right. And they came to me and said, essentially, if you stay and get a master's, we'll make you a teaching assistant. We'll give you a full ride. And my parents are like, I don't care. Just do it. Wait it
Do
out.
that thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I have a master's in broadcast. If I wouldn't have done that, who knows where I would have ended
Sure.
up, what I would be doing. But we've been together now for over a decade. Here at Channel 4, for on-air teams, we have been together the longest by years.
Ooh.
Why do you think we have worked?
It's a great question.
That we're still trying to
All right,
answer.
so
Yeah.
I would say that I'm getting ready to make a speech at something about my career soon, and I don't want to make it a speech. I just want to no.
Can we say why?
No,
I think we should.
You are being inducted into the St. Louis Media Hall of
Yes.
Fame
All
next
you ha-
month in April. This is
all you
a
have to do is just be
huge
around
deal.
long enough, and they start
3
throwing
claps
stuff
in
at.
that.
Like,
Okay.
who's still on the list? Oh,
So-
Ehrhardt, then.
I've thought a lot about
Congratulations.
that. Thank you. And one of the things that this may sound egomaniac, but one of the things that I would say that has made me a survivor, because I have been through some.
Yep.
And one of the things is that, in this business, we don't do it as much anymore. Maybe some stations do, but we don't. We don't have to deal with the consultants as much as we used to. It doesn't feel like. We used to have 2-3 meetings a year and sit
Yeah.
down, and they'd be 2-day things, and we'd just get grind on. You got to say first alert more. You got to do this. You got to do that. And I would take that with a grain of salt. Not because I felt I was better than anybody, but just all I knew to be was me. I mean, I couldn't, and there was a time when you would meet a newscaster and you would go, oh, he's nothing like he is on the air, and I think that the 3 of us, I don't mean to speak for you guys, but I feel like I'm just not good enough to act like something and then be a different person. So it's just been me, and I've always said I'm going to do what I think my strengths are, and I'm just going to go with that. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, then I'll go out and sell stuff, But and I don't think you should be afraid to reinvent yourself, because you're going to have to over there. This business has changed in the 45 years that I've been doing this.
Right.
The changes have been technical, based on the theory of what works and what doesn't, and and the economy and all the things that have changed over the years have completely changed broadcasting.
And there's an evolution happening right now.
Absolutely, there's always.
Yeah,
when I
This
told
show.
you this, we talked about exactly.
That's exactly.
We talked about this recently. That when I first started, one of the first things I did after I got a job as prompter operator at a morning show in Cape Girardeau was to start to shoot. I was a photographer, and I remember like it was yesterday, the chief photographer who took me under his wing and started showing me the ropes a little bit, telling me that he was getting ready to retire. And he said, I am so glad I'm getting out of this right now, because this business is changing and it's never gonna gonna be the same.
Mm-hmm.
And as I've gone along over the 45 years, it's everybody. That's just it's a cycle. And I think that it's not unique to us, but maybe even more so for us, that things are changing and you have to adopt.
That's true.
But even with that, a decade of us together, when I think of you, Matt, I truly think you could work with anyone in the history of the world and have a very good relationship with them.
That is a very kind. That's a compliment in ways that people watching may not even understand. I really appreciate that. Yeah.
And it's true.
That's kind of you to say.
Kent, you're not the same.
No, I'm not. I'm not. But that's, again, the beauty of
There is, yeah.
Yes.
And I think we're tap dancing around the fact that there is a chemistry. We have an off-camera relationship that is very similar. It is the same, to your point. It's the same
and
as
we
our
share
on-camera relationship.
We share when we get into a text battle at night or whatever, back and forth, and we share it when we come in the next day. We all.
That's true. I should save this for your Hall of Fame night. But one of the things I'll say about Kent Ehrhardt, especially when I started here, one of the things I admired about him, and I don't think I've ever said this out loud to you, but he was a guy that I could learn from. And I don't mean he would sit me down and say, now listen, Matt, this is the best way to do X, Y, and Z. I could just learn from watching him. There's kind of we've talked about this through the years, you can sort of tell who some of his influencers were. Like once in a while, there's a little Johnny Carson that pops out. And one of the things I've learned from him through the years is that you can do a lot more sometimes with just a facial expression and a little moment of silence than you can with 150 words. Mm-hmm. And I learn things from you, too. To your point about being able to work with anybody, I think one of the reasons I like working with a wide variety of people is everybody brings different strengths to the table. Everybody has room for improvement in certain areas. But I am a sponge in that way. I like to take the best parts of the people I work with and try to figure out how to incorporate that into my own style. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I think when you work with people that make you better just for being around them, that's a rising tide that lifts all ships.
One of the things that I've always appreciated about Matt is I consider him, and I've said this about a handful of people in my life, is I consider him an old soul. He understands and appreciates things that a person from his generation, and he's not that far behind me, but like you're another generation,
yes.
Below that, even not below, but younger. But Matt, I will throw out, a Shecky Green comment or something like that,
Jeez.
and he'll go, and where you would go, who is that? And that's what you do. Mm-hmm. And one of the fun things about before the show and after the show is I'll throw something like that out, and you'll make a comment about it, and you'll go, who's Johnny Carson?
Yeah.
Or whatever.
I do know who Johnny Carson
but,
is.
Usually what she
saying.
says is,
still alive.
Guys are nuts.
Yeah,
Yes.
Milton Berle.
Milton.
Or whatever.
Uncle
You
Milty,
You guys are so weird.
But I'm glad you mentioned the generation thing because it's true. We have 30 years between us. Kent is 30 years older than me, 20 years older than you. You're 10 years older than me. Very, very different life stages. And I think that's what makes this unique, too, because viewers can come in and see a lot of themselves in you. They see a lot of their kids.
Everything's
Great
represented.
point.
In
Yeah,
you.
Good
That's a
point.
really
I
good
never
point.
thought of it that
Which
way.
And
means
their
you
annoying
cannot
grandkid
leave
and me.
because we would lose the whole boomer generation.
Right. If you go,
Yeah.
I'm not waiting until you're a boomer. That's for sure.
Me either, I hope.
Yeah.
what's your favorite part about the show?
You know, it sounds so hokey and cliche and like a thing you would say on a podcast, but Great Day really is. On an average day where things are quiet and the weather is a steady state, Great Day is the most enjoyable part of my day.
Oh, absolutely.
And it's hard to put a finger on exactly why that is. I think it's just you're going to enjoy it. It's not a 60 minutes of your day that you dread, like, oh, I got to go downstairs and do this 60-minute thing with these people. It's legitimately enjoyable. It's different every day. We have interesting guests. We get to do things that, like the things especially when I was less weather and more heavily involved in Great Day, good Lord. I mean, I was swinging on a trapeze, and I was doing tours in wine country, and I was, interviewing Robin Williams and doing like, not skydiving per se, but the thing where you float over the giant fan. Like
Those are
all
fun.
these things that outside of my job, where I'm really just a super boring guy, I never would have had the opportunity to do. So it's just fun. It's an experience in local television that's not like anything else you get the opportunity.
I had the Can Kent for a while.
Oh,
Remember
those
that?
were the best. Of course
Those
I
were
do.
so fun.
Yeah.
I got to crawl around.
It was
in
like
the
a
sewer.
Dirty Jobs kind of thing. It was awesome.
All
Yeah.
around in a sewer.
Yeah, I did.
Which is kind of similar to the show.
I would say that my favorite part, not to get too hokey, but I expressed this when we got into the new building and I was given a little cubby. I had been in television for 40 years and I had never had a desk of my own,
Right.
except when I did PM Magazine, and that was decades ago. And so I had this little cubby, and I was surrounded by you and Laura, and you were more in weather by then, but Laura and Sam, our producer, and some of the other reporters, and then Damon came along, and to go in every morning after the show and sit there and work on my noon weather while Sam was there and Laura was next to me, or now she's across from me. It was just, I loved that so much because, as you know, when you work especially that morning shift in weather, and even the evenings too, it is a lonely life. You're out there by yourself. Even when I was the chief and I worked evenings, there was nobody around for hours while I was working in there. And
true.
And now it's so much different. And I like being surrounded by people that I love and that I want to be with. And when I come in every day and know that's what it's going to be, it really is. And they've made this building so accommodating and so nice. And it's been fun watching. Another big part of it for me is just it's been fun watching this place come together over the past, I'd say, 3 to 5 years. Everything has just started to fall in place. We have a great news director now who came up through the ranks in our newsroom.
Yeah.
We have we have Great Day going along at a good clip. Now we've got My St. Louis Live at 3 o'clock, and I was part of that to get it up and running. And this identity of First Alert is really, I don't think, going anywhere. And remember the old stop-start thing? We would always come up with we're the 24-hour news. Oh, we're always there. We're always, and it just, now there really is an identity to it, and there really is a goal out there, and that I think we're obtaining, and it's just, it's been fun to watch. It really has been fun to be a part of it.
And
Don't you think?
I do.
Yeah, and on a more personal, like interconnected level, this is not to steal, but I'm about to blatantly steal from CBS. Before Tony DeCopel moved to the evening anchor chair at CBS, there was a CBS Mornings promo running that always kind of struck a chord with me, where he said, and it was kind of like, it was him and Gayle King and Nate Burleson talking just to the camera about what they do. But Nate said a thing that struck a chord. He's like, I don't even really think about it as going to work. I think about it as having a cup of coffee with 3 of my good friends, because it was a 4-anchor show at the time, and just discussing the issues of the day.
Which, if you think about it, is a lot easier for Nate because he's making millions of dollars.
It's a
Somebody
lot
drives
easier.
him to work,
Right.
puts his makeup on for him,
Yes.
buys his clothes.
Right.
So, yeah, I would
So
say...
wait. You
Do your
don't-
own
you
makeup?
don't get that?
That's what I gathered.
Because
Kent
Laura and
does his
I,
own makeup?
we've been riding that bandwagon for a
Oh,
while.
my goodness.
Yeah, no, right. Different world.
Yeah.
As they have alluded to, both of these guys are meteorologists here at First Alert 4. It is a First Alert weather day. Kent is up for First Alert 4 at noon with the potential of severe storms. So let's go ahead and take a break. We will see if we can con Kent into
Couple more
staying
minutes.
a little longer, but we'll take a quick break. Coming back with more Live with Laura, Matt, and Kent.
Live with Laura.
It's Live with Laura. Welcome back to Live with Laura.
Just put a line over the I.
Right. Oh,
No
good
one
idea.
is living with each other as of now. We can make
things
that
change.
I'll
happen.
have you know I live with quite a few people.
You do.
I do.
You have a house of 8.
Yeah.
What is that like?
It's, I spend a lot of time here.
I noticed.
It's something. I do joke with our GM all the time. Like anytime money or like I was shooting something the other day and he saw these. What's the Sam's store brand? Market something.
Maker's
Members-
Mark.
Members Mark.
Mark,
Members
yeah.
Mark.
Maker's Mark is a
Makers- Wow. Okay.
Which is another thing we need to talk
Now we're
about.
living with Laura.
I'm so sorry.
But he
Members
saw these
Mark.
Members Mark things. He's like, oh, Sam's, yeah. You can stretch your dollar. And anytime something like that comes up, I'll just look him right in the eyes and say, well, JD, I am the sole provider for a family of 8. Yeah, just like to remind him of that
And
once
he
in a while.
just walks off.
Yeah, he's like, I know. It's come up.
He's like, not my fault.
You're right. Whose choice
It
was
was
that?
So JD is currently our GM. He was not the GM.
Currently, what?
Yeah, what have you heard? Does he watch these? 'Cause
I don't
so-
know. Hi, JD. Thank
You
you.
boy.
But he was not the GM when they put all of us together
True.
on Great
True.
Day. Do you think the GMs and the managers at the time had any conversations about what are these 3 going to be like together, or was it?
I
we
think
just
they
need to-
said, is he willing to do it?
Right.
Let's just let him do it.
Who's available?
Because I don't think we were I don't think anybody thought we'd probably be around as long as we have been. And I think it was just a matter of who can handle this. We just got really lucky. I mean, if you look at these kinds of shows in this market or any other, there's a pretty good revolving door of
Turnaround.
hosts and
Yeah.
a lot of turnaround. And I think we've just been lucky. I mean, I was this close to retiring, and I had that conversation with JD, and I said, if I could just do Great Day and the Noon Show, I'd be willing to stay. And I don't know that I would. Why would I ever give it up? Now they're sending me to Italy, so it's like, no, I'm never
Man,
leaving.
did you make the right call?
But I had that.
Yeah.
I don't want to leave, but I don't want to, have the anxiety of storms and everything that goes into being a frontline weather person on this station. It's all encompassing,
And you raise a good point, especially when weather comes into all of this. You are a morning meteorologist. We are going into severe weather season. I don't think people at home understand how much pressure you guys put on yourselves, and they shouldn't.
Right.
You should make it easy to understand, and when it is very serious, you should drive that home, not beat them over the head with it.
If we're doing well, they shouldn't be worried about the stress we're under.
But it is a lot.
Yeah, it certainly
can
can
be.
be. Yeah. And we, if you didn't care a lot about it, you probably wouldn't carry that stress and that anxiety that comes along with it. But we want to do really well and our entire weather team. I think that goes down to every individual. We're not phoning it in. We're not tearing some forecast off from somewhere and regurgitating it. We're starting with a blank page every shift 3 or 4 times a day, and putting our own spin on it and updating. And there's lots of inter-team communication at the end/beginning of every shift. We really work as a unit. We work together. And yeah, I wouldn't expect people at home, if we're doing it well, to be worried about that. But we probably make it more stressful on ourselves than we have.
And at the risk of JD hearing this and getting upset with me, which I know he wouldn't, our competitors are the same way. I don't think there's anybody in this business, certainly in this city, that in the weather aspect of our business, that doesn't take it very seriously and take responsibility. And listen, when people die, and they do, it cuts you to the bone. I mean, I can remember being really shook at times when we found about a fatality from tornadoes or flooding, and just thinking, man, I wish there was something we could do. And I remember starting off in this in weather, that we didn't have the opportunity to literally ring somebody's phone. And I always used to say, listen, you've got to pay attention tonight, because this is going to come at night. I can't come to your house and knock on your door. I literally used to say that. As much as I'd love to, I can't do that. Now we can, and it's crazy. But then when something like that happens, I know there's a part of you that man, what more could I have done? What could I have said that I wish I could have said? People at this point in our viewing area need to get out of there, and you can't. But you do the best you can.
And it's amazing how much your forecast impacts so many other people. Both days that I gave birth to my two children, I turned on Channel 4 for a bit to make sure you guys were there, so congrats, you were. The morning after I had my daughter, I'm at St. Luke's, which is 141 just north of 64 in Chesterfield. Tornado warnings happen.
Yeah. About 4 in the morning or so.
Yes. They come in and they said, hey, Matt's on right now. There's a tornado warning for our area. We are evacuating everyone out of their rooms into the hallway. And it's like, are you kidding me? Seriously? It just never crossed my mind. And think about all the huge hospitals we have and all the very sick patients and how delicate all the nurses have to be to move all the machines out to make sure they're still hooked up to whatever they need. It was so eye-opening how serious they had to take it. And the second you gave the all clear, the sigh of relief.
Mm-hmm. The same thing happened when Kendall. We didn't get moved into the hall, but when Kendall was born, you were on doing severe weather updates, and I'm watching that.
Like, what's going to happen first? Is baby going to come? We don't know.
The silver lining in a story like that is that it's heartening for us to hear about the hospital's level of preparedness. Mm-hmm. They were on it. They were dialed in. They knew the moment they needed to take action. And the unfortunate reality is that's a lot more common in a corporate or healthcare sort of setting than it is at people's homes. I think we tend to feel safer in our homes. We don't, nobody's doing tornado drills at home. They do them at schools, but they don't do it at home. The reality is you gotta just dedicate 4 minutes one day to thinking, boy, think about all the places you go during a day, and then think about what you would do in a weather emergency situation in each one of those places. It's not difficult. It doesn't have to be hard. And just an ounce of thinking through it before your back is against the wall and the sirens are going off is worth a pound of trying to deal with that in the moment.
We used to do a lot of that in Florida when we'd talk about hurricanes. Yeah. And one of the things that I became very aware of is that making decisions when you're stressed out and there's a lot of anxiety and angst about this thing is here. What do I do? You tend to make the wrong decision. You could do more harm than good, which is why you hear us talk about, please have a plan in place. Right. Just think about it. Like Matt said, it doesn't take that long. And if you have questions, you can email us or you can talk to the emergency management division of the county that you live in, or the fire department, or whatever. Just say, where is a safe place? If I live in a mobile home, where would I go if I'm really concerned that I'm in the path of a bad storm? It doesn't have to be a tornado. And where would I go that would be safer? And how long is it going to take me to get there?
Right.
And add some minutes because maybe some other people are trying to get there, or maybe trees might be down
Sure.
or whatever else. And I know that sounds overwhelming, but you don't want to be making that decision when the thing's on top of you. That's
if you have that and you have a way to get watches and warnings, there's a 99% chance that you're going to be completely safe. Yeah.
And I've had it. Since this is not what I was told, it's
Right.
not what I was sold, it's not Live with Laura.
Live.
Live with Laura, which I have no interest in.
You're really leaving.
Yeah,
He's out of here.
I have to go. I have
He's
to put
done.
the noon weather together. And in all seriousness, we do have some weather coming tonight, so I want to get it right.
Yeah. Right.
So,
We appreciate that. We appreciate your time. Thank you. The soon-to-be Hall of Famer, Kent Ehrhardt.
Give it up.
Right here, 45-year career in broadcasting.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And it all
days I'll get it
culminates.
right.
It all culminates with Live with Laura.
Yes, here you are, the pinnacle.
Moving in.
Oh, my goodness.
Okay, well, now that guy's
Thank
gone.
God he finally left.
Do
And-
I have some stories to tell
Oh,
you?
I know. So do I. Jesse, with the nice zoom on the two of us. Thank you very
look at
much.
that. Do I need to
Jesse.
move? Am I okay here?
You're good.
Okay.
And if you move, you're
like
gonna
edit this and it airs later, right? Nobody's watching this right now.
God, I hope people are watching right now. I just posted about it. Just don't hit your shin on the coffee table.
Okay. Oh yeah. Okay.
So let's talk about what it is like for you right now, doing a show like Great Day, but being on the air the previous 6 hours, basically,
Yeah.
before
Yeah.
you walk in to do this show. What is a typical day like for you?
Oh man. Okay, well, let's talk about that. If I'm the only meteorologist on the morning shift, a lot of people watching right now may have recognized Chance Gotch has been added to our meteorology team. Huge level of support there in the mornings, but he's not here every day. So let's assume it's a solo meteorologist shift. Even on a quiet weather day, I try to get here around 1:30 in the morning. We go on the air at 4. And people think, what in the world are you doing there at 1:30? Well, it takes, as you said, it takes a lot of preparation time to be in a position where you're comfortable going on the air for 6 straight hours, knowing that once you hit the air, you're not going to have a lot of time to make modifications and tweaks and changes. Sometimes weather dictates that you have to do that, but you want to be as prepared as you can at 4 a.m. So that time leading up to First Alert 4 this morning, which goes on the air at 4 a.m., is spent, number one, forecasting. We go out 10 days now, so you're doing a high, a low, a chance of precipitation for each day. Focused mostly on the first 3 days because, frankly, that's what people care about, and that's what we can do most accurately. We're also recording forecasts for various radio stations that play throughout the course of the morning. We're recording a video that pushes out via our First Alert 4 weather app every morning at about 6 a.m. We're recording a video for our website, KMOV.com. We're recording content for our all-weather channel, which you can get over the air. I love to watch it at home because I'm a nerd. 4.2. You're also updating the text of the forecast on the website. You're making sure that the app numbers match up with your on-air numbers because there is a level of automation there, but we always want to make sure that the two match as best they can. You're handling social media responsibilities on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, etc. And that's all before you go on the air. Then you go on the air at 4 a.m. And to your point, we now, one of the huge initiatives we have here, and I hope you've recognized this, and this is part of it, is very often when we're not live on the air, as we are not at the moment, what are we in the, Price is Right just ended, now we're in soap opera, we're streaming. And so the morning newscast runs from 4 to 7. There's a 7 to 9 a.m. gap there between the morning newscast and Great Day. We now stream continuously through that 7 to 9 a.m. gap, pausing temporarily a couple of times to go back on television to do cut-ins during CBS mornings. And then, yes, at 8:56, I'm downstairs wearing a different microphone and a different earpiece so I can do a weather cut-in right before Great Day. And then it's Great Day from 9 to 10. That's what a normal day looks like. Tomorrow won't be a normal day because we'll have some active weather coming through overnight. Chance and I likely will both be here. And we may be on the air before 4 a.m. if the weather dictates, and it certainly might.
And for a lot of our listeners and viewers who are older, everything you just described really didn't exist 15 years ago.
Right.
The amount of extra work that meteorologists and reporters especially are expected to do is triple, without a doubt. Because I'm guessing when you were hired here at Channel 4 for morning weather, was it 5 to 7?
I think it was 5:30 to 7, if I remember right.
That's a big difference.
Yeah.
And then Great Day, you eventually came into it, but you had a big gap. If you did the noon show, then it's 7 to noon, maybe some cut-ins for the national news, but still not at the level it is now.
Right.
Facebook, that was kind of becoming a thing. Twitter, kind of becoming a thing, but definitely no apps, no additional videos to make sure we send it out everywhere, no push alerts.
Right.
You have had to evolve in this industry.
Sure, and to Kent's point, you kind of have to, or you'll be left behind. And I remember 2005 was my hire date. It was late March or early April of 2005, and the big push at that point was the website. And there was a lot of debate. It reminds me, it's very much analogous to the transformation we're going through with the stream right now, where it was kind of like, well, we know there's potential revenue through the web. We're just not sure how to execute that. And it was kind of like, we don't want to invest too heavily in it until we can prove that it's profitable. But it's hard to prove that it's profitable until you invest in it. And I feel like that's exactly where we are in the streaming world right now. It's like we know that this is where people, especially younger generations, go. We know we have to have a presence there. We know there's an opportunity for new revenue streams for the station, but we don't know how exactly to do that. So we're trying, like this. This is an excellent example of things we're trying to see if there's an audience out there for it, if people are interested in it. But we're also in that odd period where it's like, we don't want to invest too much in it because we haven't proven necessarily that it's super profitable yet. So, it's the only trend line that's been consistent in my 21 years here now is that the workload
is going up,
increases. And you would think, well, with automation and certain things, it's yes, in a way, but that just offers you maybe a little bit more free time to apply to something else.
Something else
on the to-do list. Wouldn't you agree?
I couldn't agree more. Yeah. And I worry about future meteorologists and journalists who are in college right now. Yeah. I worry what they're being taught and who they are being taught by. And that is not a knock against any of the professors, but a lot of professors have been removed from the working world for a period of time.
Right.
And I tell you, if they're learning from someone who hasn't been in a newsroom post-pandemic, everything's different.
So true. How do you rectify that? I think, if you are one of those professors, you do your best to stay dialed in to the current modern day newsroom, whether that's print or broadcast or magazine or whatever the case. And you're right, it's almost like if you weren't in a newsroom yesterday, it's going to be difficult to provide kids with the tools that they need students, to provide them with the tools that they need to not just survive, but thrive in a modern news environment.
I've already learned a lot just today from Matt and Kent, as I always do. We are up against another break. We're going to take our final one, come back, wrap things up with Live with Laura featuring Matt Chambers. We appreciate that you're watching. We'll be right back. This has been a very enjoyable conversation for me as I'm sitting here with now one of my greatest friends and coworkers.
That is so sweet of you to say.
Well, we finally ditched the other one who really weighs us down.
You can say that now.
Yeah, because he's gone. No, Kent was with us for the first half of this podcast. He is working on the noon forecast.
You should go back and watch, though, if you're just joining us.
Yes.
Like later, go back and watch.
Yes, yeah. And then let us know how much better it did get once he left.
Stop it. Come on.
So we do joke about the name of the show. It is called Great Day St. Louis.
Right.
Now, there are other shows in other markets where it's Good Day Chicago, Good Day San Francisco, something like that.
Right.
Why do you think they named it Great Day? Now, we weren't in the room when this happened.
We were not. Yeah, as the musical Hamilton would say, we were not in the room where it happened. That's a good question. I think they, part of that was kind of a wink and a nod to all the Good Day shows that were already out there. Because can't you just see management and consultants in a room like, yeah, they've got a good day. We're going to make it a great day.
Yes.
And that's really become one of the things I love about you is you always try to bring positivity to different situations. You bring your own sunshine, as you like to say. But I know you don't take that name lightly. Like, you've really taken that to heart. And, with the world in general, but specifically that hour from 9 to 10, I know you really try to help the viewers, I think, have a great day.
I do, and you do too, because it's a level of responsibility that I have gotten so much more as I've gotten older, and you have seen me grow tremendously as a person, first and foremost, in our decade of working very close together. And I just think about how very naive I was when I was given this opportunity in my 20s, not in a relationship, no kids, and what an idiot I must have sounded like. But now, where I understand how much is going on in people's lives, when you do start adding the layers of a relationship, of a marriage, of kids,
Children,
of illness within the family. And I really do think that hour from 9 to 10 is the opportunity for people to kind of decompress. Maybe they made it through the morning rush of getting kids out the door. Maybe they're watching from that hospital bed that I have been in, that my family members have been in, and they need something positive. And all of us try to make sure we provide that.
We had a tour group in here a couple of weeks ago. I'm sure you remember them. It was some kind of leadership St. Charles County group. And a woman, probably close to my age, maybe somewhere between your age and my age, pulled me aside as they made a stop down in what we call the Lifestyle Studio, which is where we do Great Day, and then they were on their way out. And as they were on their way out, this one woman pulled me aside and she said, I just want you to understand how important this show is to me. And she told me a story about how she'd had an operation, and there was a long recovery. And the one constant thing in her day was the smiles she got from Great Day St. Louis. She said, even when people couldn't come over to visit, and I understand nobody, they can't have people at your beck and call all the time, I knew that you guys would always be there. And if she had a follow-up appointment that conflicted with it, she would record the show and watch it later in the day. And I'm like almost bawling as she's telling me this. I'm like, I looked her right in the eyes and I said, you don't understand what that means when you tell us that, because that's really the goal. That is the light at the end of the tunnel that we're kind of striving for with this show, to your point. And that doesn't mean we never talk about serious topics. We've always kind of been driven by the idea that if our viewers are talking about it, if our viewers are experiencing it, then we need to do that too. And I think the pandemic was a prime example of that. We all kind of went through that together.
And we've also, the three of us have been open with personal struggles. You lost your dad while doing this show at the start of the pandemic.
Yeah, the anniversary date of that is coming up later this month.
I was thinking it was. I've lost my grandma since being on this show, and then the 1 year mark of Kent losing his son is coming up in April. And we, of course, keep some personal details to us, but the three of us have also grieved on this show. We have shown very real emotions toward each other. And I think that helps too, because yes, while the smiles help, we still understand that life is a series of peaks and valleys. And I don't think the three of us would be fully true to ourselves if we're in a valley and we don't share some of that. We still look for the positive where the peak is going to take us, but we have shared that, and sometimes that's really hard to do too.
It takes, bravery is not the right word, but it takes a level of, you have to be willing to let a wall down, because there is a it's not the stereotypical Ron Burgundy anchorman thing, but there is still this air like, well, we don't want to see these journalists emotionally affected by these stories because they're the ones guiding us through it. They're sort of the stoic rocks that we can cling to while we're going through this. We don't really abide by that on Great Day St. Louis. We are, and we hope that that's not a TMI situation, a too much information situation. We hope it's a relatable thing because we understand and respect that our viewers are maybe not necessarily having the greatest of days as they're watching the show called Great Day St. Louis. So it's human nature, I think, to want to share all those experiences in a real way, if you can, with our viewers. And it's so interesting, you know this too. Occasionally we do have the chance to be face-to-face with a lot of our viewers. We do a series of on-the-road shows each year.
Which really are some of our very favorite shows of the entire year.
And part of it is because there's a number of reasons for that. But first of all, we're still amazed that people show up just for that experience, which we love. It's very heartening. But when people talk about their experiences with the show and their relationship kind of with us, it's very rarely about, I loved that talker story you did about coffee pots. It's not about that. It's about the, I really related to the way Kent had one opinion on this story and Laura had another opinion on this story. Or people will share in your grief. Like you said, I'm so sorry that you lost your father. I'm so sorry that you lost your grandmother. And that, to me, that is a connection that you can't, there's no, Kent talked about consultants. There's no consulting, there's no class, there's no training module you can do to help you form that kind of connection with the people that watch you every day. So when we hear that kind of feedback, that's about the most meaningful thing you can tell us.
And especially in a town like St. Louis that absolutely has divisions.
Yeah.
I love that this show is truly dedicated to highlighting all the positives. I personally get frustrated when I meet people and they say, oh, I don't watch the news, it's all bad. And I'll say, it's really not all bad. Do you have any clue what this nonprofit is doing? Do you have any idea what this high schooler just created? If you watched the show or My St. Louis Live, you would meet those people.
Yeah.
There are so many incredible people right here in our area doing big things each and every day.
You know what bounces into my head when you say that? Surprise Squad. One of the most professionally fulfilling things I've ever been a part of. And to a person, when somebody says, I don't watch local TV, it's all terrible news. It's fires and murders, and Surprise Squad and Great Day are the two crutches I go to. I say, really? Because I bet you're not watching X, Y, and Z. And that's one of the, I've been fortunate enough in so many ways here at Channel 4 to experience a lot of different amazing things, but Surprise Squad is on that list too, where you find people, they never come to us. It's always people who know them that come to us, because by design, these people are wired up not to seek attention or gratitude for the things they're quietly doing every day, but for us, we're just a giant megaphone, basically, for us to be able to highlight and spotlight them and make the community aware that there are, and for every one we do, there's 10,000, right, doing the similar work that have ripple effects all over the community, and to be able to shout through our broadcasting and streaming megaphone about the incredible things that those people are doing is so amazing. To your point, we need more of that, because there is a lot. The reality is there are challenges in St. Louis and St. Louis County and St. Charles County in the Metro East. But at the same time, the stories that are less frequently told, but just as important, can really be amazing.
And I love that it's called the Surprise Squad,
right,
because it is an entire team of people. Yeah. And sometimes, even when I casually watch TV, I forget how many people it takes to do a single broadcast. So on Great Day, well, you see Matt, Kent, and I, you don't have a clue how many hours Sam, the head of the show, has put into it. Paige has brought story ideas. Damon has been out in the community. It really is a team effort. Jesse right now directing this show, our entire team of graphic designers. There are so many things that have to come together to put on any type of broadcast.
Yep. And the times I'm most reminded of that, we just did a half-hour spring weather special last week. I don't get to do this as often as I'd like, but occasionally I get to go out and shoot what we call a package, a pre-produced piece that airs at a later time. And the thing I love about that is the collaboration. Because your photographer and your editor bring something to the table that you might not. Your graphic specialist, your artist, your graphic designer brings something to the table. And you run things by them, and they get excited about it, and they run things by you, and you get excited about it. And that gets me. I love that. I love when a group of people is able to make something better than any one of them individually would have been able to create on their own.
And they're also talented.
Oh my gosh, they're crazy good. Crazy good. We all have our favorites that we like to work with because they have different skill sets, but everybody here brings something to the table. Yeah.
As we wrap up this conversation.
What? It's time to go.
I know.
Where do I get the check on the way out, or Jesse does that?
I'm pretty sure Channel 4 pays you every other week.
I'll have to look into that. I'm not sure. My wife really handles all of that.
Okay. If you could throw more my way too, that'd be great.
Right.
As we do wrap up this conversation, say something happens and Great Day goes away, Channel 4 goes away. Looking back on the time that you have spent here at KMOV, what is always going to stay with you?
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's really impossible to pick a single event or a single moment. So immediately your brain goes to the people. Like, these are people that would not have been in my life otherwise. And I'm better for having known them. And I'm better for having worked with them. And like getting emotional. But I think Kent would say the same thing. It's the people that make the difference. And that's what you would carry on with you forever, no matter what the next chapter is, right?
And friends at home who don't know this, Matt officiated Mark and my wedding. That is how much the people here matter to us. You have such a huge part of our story together, and I am forever thankful for that. And I couldn't agree more. It's the people, and it's so funny to think about everyone's lives. You're from Kansas City. You could have easily been in St. Louis a couple of years and said, you know what, I want to be closer to family. Kent could have stayed in Florida. God knows the weather's better there, usually. I could have been here for 2 years and moved on to a Chicago. Who knows? Or never gone into this industry. Yeah. It's just amazing that God lays out the path for people and how they all kind of go together to get to where we are right now.
Right. And it's never what you planned.
No.
And that's the fun of it, right? What's the old saying? Life is what happens while you're busy making plans. I think, yeah, that's true. That officiating the wedding, by the way, I don't know how much time. It shut me up if I have to. But first of all, it was such a tremendous honor when you asked me that. That was a really emotional moment for me, too. And that night specifically, it was a New Year's Eve, Union Station. I will never forget that night. It was one of the most exciting and enjoyable nights of my life. I think my wife would say the same thing. She was at my side that night, too. And what an honor it is to be a part of your story and Mark's story and the creation of this new family that you continue to build. And I'm glad I had a front row seat for that.
Me too. And I'm so lucky that I get to work with you every day. Kent, too. It's truly an honor. It's so fun. And an honor that you guys gave so much of your time today to be here.
This was fun.
So thank you.
I think really it was just a test to see what it looked like with two guests, but that's okay.
That's exactly what it was.
I'm not here to judge.
Coming up on Thursday, we have another two-guest thing, and I really needed to know how it was going to look. Jesse needed a run-through.
I knew there was something.
Yeah, you're guinea pigs.
I knew we were guinea pigs. I just didn't know exactly what we were being injected with. Now I understand. And again, I'm just happy to help.
Thank you. We appreciate that. So friends at home, until next time, thank you for listening, thank you for learning, and thank you for being live with Laura.